Hey everyone, this is Track from Scratch, Do Not Discard, Session 2. Really glad to be streaming. I was out of town on business for a week. All right, let's listen to where we're at. All right, I don't need to hear it twice. Just verifying that we're live. Okay, back to business. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is create a keys sound to land on the beginning of these chords, give it some attack if I want it, but then also to write some more chords that are a little quicker, a little faster pace. New track. Keys. Okay, I am going to use the AX73 by Martinic. So I have no idea how to pronounce that. Is it Martin IC? Is it Martinic? Is it Martinic? I don't know. But I like the synth, so we're going to use it. I'm going to go with Martinic just because it sounds cool. See if we're wired up. Again, I run my audio levels hot, and I run hot on my tracks, so you may turn it down, but this is a nice level to start. So on the AX73 by Martinic, you got some front panel controls here. They're not super useful, but that's perfectly all right, because when I drill into the advanced settings, that's when we can really start to work with the synth. But there are some things I can do up front here, and so one of the things I can do is work on my amplitude envelope. So I'm going to zero everything out, including, I want velocity to be in the middle. That's right. All right, back to default. Anyway, let's work on a keys type envelope. So I'm going to tune the decay. And I want some space there. Let's tune the release. Go a little longer on the release. Good old-fashioned saw wave key. All right. There's no filter envelope on the front panel, so I'm going to do a couple of things here, which is max out the influence that the envelope generator has on frequency, and then drop the frequency all the way down. You can hear, even when I do that, some of the filter gets through. So to see okay, so like what's going on? I just messed with the filter and I had unpredictable results. So let's go to the advanced settings. Now I have access to all the controls. So here's my filter envelope. So I'm going to zero this guy all the way out. Now we got what we want to start with. So again, we're going to make a keys sound, so we're going to tune decay and release. Mouse lag. Okay, one thing about synths in general, soft synths, that bugs me, and so this, the people at Martinic are not the only ones to do this. I can't do a 2-finger touch trackpad scroll on any of the controls here. I have to grab them and pull them, which means my mouse pointer is going off the screen or whatever. Okay, enough sidetracking. So I did an amplitude envelope, I did a filter envelope, got my filter roughly where I want it. On a plain old saw wave. Still sounds pretty good, huh? All right, let's make it sound even better. So in the AX73, and I'm pretty sure the real one didn't have this, we got 4 LFOs to work with. And I like the way these LFOs are laid out. And I like, on a simple synth like this, I don't need a modulation matrix. I like that I have 4 LFOs, I can individually target them. This first one I want to target the oscillators, and they're global, so I'm going to affect both oscillators with 1 LFO. There might be a way to do per oscillator LFO, but I have no idea what it is. So on these LFOs, they start with a depth of nothing, which is not going to help, so got to crank that. I'm going to sync, so I'm working on vibrato, so I'm going to start fast so I can hear it. Hear that? Would you say that's too much? Yeah, I would too. I'm going to try an 1/8. I'm going to get a little delay. Now we make it an actual vibrato. We want it to be very subtle. So far, so good. All right, let's repeat that effort, but in a different way to the second LFO. Let's target the filter, and specifically that's filter cutoff. I think the resonance might be in here. There it is. Crank our depth. I crank the depth just so I can get, I want to hear the extreme of the control so that I know what I have to work with. Speed that up. Okay, that's where my vibrato is at. This is a case where I'm going to turn retrigger on. So I have a very predictable start to the sound. All right. So that's not bad. I like that. Again, I'm working on a single saw wave. So anything interesting about this sound has nothing to do with my waveforms or any kind of stereo processing. Okay, LFO3. Let's target that to either resonance or amplitude. I'm going to do amplitude, crank my depth, give it a sync. All right, hear that? Now this is where it happens. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit for now. We'll tune that probably a little bit more when we get it in tempo. So some key sounds are really good to just arpeggiate chords, you know, like Moonlight Sonata or whatever that kind of stuff is. But this is not one of those sounds. In this sound, if all the voices don't hit at the same time, it sounds like just a mess. So I'm really kind of glad these LFOs are global. So LFO4 is hardwired already to pulse width modulation, which is fine because I'm going to use it. Depth is all the way up. Thank you. Sync. I'm going to do this slow at 3/4. This is also the time control. See, they control each other. So that's there just for convenience. And then this is how much. I guess this is like either my starting phase or starting width there. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to stick it in the middle until I hear what it sounds like. And then I got to make this. Oh. Yeah, my head is in the wrong place. VCO2. You need to take the steps down a little bit more. Yep. All right, so we have our pulse width. We've got some LFO going on. Actually, I would expect like pulse width modulation to be more extreme than that. Maybe it's... Oh, there we go. I guess I really don't know what that control does. Okay. So I've got my envelope set, got a good keys sound going. I have pretty much a 50-50 mix between saw and square, running some pulse width modulation. I'm running vibrato. I'm running a filter sweep, and I'm running a cool amplitude thing in tempo. So that sounds pretty cool, right? But now let's check out the chorus that's built into this thing because it's really nice. Instant stereophonic. It's not so terrible now for arpeggios. That was a C minor 7, by the way. I suck at the keyboard. I just use it to do sound design, and then I turn it all over to MIDI. So I have tried some of the effects on this thing. So I've got my chorus. I don't know. I don't really want a second one. The phaser's not too bad, but it's not kind of what I'm after. Reverb's not too bad, but it's not great. And well, I mean, great is relative. I'm comparing it to Liquid Sonics, for example. Delay is pretty good. Anyway, the effects are really good. I would use them. It's just that they're not what I'm after, except flanger. So I tinkered with this flanger for a while because I do like it. I mean, that is stereotypical, no pun intended, flanger. But it ended up not being what I want. But you can really get some good stuff out of this. All this stuff works well. That feedback control is super cool. So that flanger is fun, but I am going to use a different flanger as I build out the channel strip. But for now, let's call this synth good, and we'll move on. Oh, I know. We haven't heard it yet. Let's hear it. So, right, it's missing, you know, it's missing delay, it's missing reverb, it's missing all the goodies, but the bass sound is there. So for fun, let's just turn it all on. It's not going to sound right for sure. Once this keys setup has as much gas as the pad, I think it'll sound good. So for fun, we can slam neutron and see what happens. So here's the thing. Sometimes you can just drive the keyboard into the next processor and peg the levels, which you might want to do. It might be a preamp simulation or a distortion unit of some kind. Here's the problem with that technique, or with that method, is that the synth itself may not allow a clipped signal. So if you flip this off, you'll see if a unclipped signal can leave the synth. Okay, and it can. Just a little, you know, it takes 2 seconds to test it, but it's good to know that what I'm hearing is not distortion from the synth that I'm using. All right, let's go back to solo. I am going to pull up a distortion unit. The black box. Black box is awesome. Let's just hear it right out of, let's hear the box out of the box. It's totally almost imperceptible. Now I would leave it there, but we can get something more out of it. So black box essentially has 3 tube circuits. I hope my terminology is correct here, but anyway, circuit number 1 is this saturation tube, and that runs, let's call it less predictable distortion than the pentode and the triode tubes do, right? But you got to put this in, just like you have to put the air control in. All right, now let's see what's going on. Let's go up a third. Difference there. So the saturation on this sound so far isn't doing much. But as I turn this pentode up, this pentode circuit is supposedly boosting even numbered harmonics. So that'd be your octave, then your next fifth, or wait, no, your octave, then your second octave, then your fifth, whatever. Whereas the triode is working on every other or the odd numbered harmonics, more like a saw wave. Pentode is more like a square wave. So let's mess around with this. I'm going to go to some extreme settings, so if your volume's really high, you might want to turn it down. Okay, it is alive. So I'm going to just see what each of these does from the extreme. What is going on? Did something bad. I messed it up. I blew a circuit. Oh, this can't be 0. Nice. I caught that on film. These must run in some kind of series. Cool. Well, I'm glad I experimented with that because now I know they run in series. So this is the device that I want to drive into the next processor. Now that is a little more distortion than I want. Oh, let's try air. I forgot. Here a little bit, but I am, how should I say, not entirely young, so I do lose some high frequency response in my ears. I have lost. All right, let's leave this the way it is. We can always come back and do it later. That's the beauty of building in a non-committed sort of, I don't know, ultimate undo or infinite undo sort of an environment. So I do want to EQ, and the reason I'm not too concerned about the air on the black box is because I'm going to use something that has air already, just this Maag EQ4. So I'm going to go top down on this sound. That's what I want. Let's do... Just gonna let this run. That's a lot. So if you haven't noticed yet, this Maag EQ4 does not have sweepable frequencies. They're fixed, which is fun, because you really learn what those frequencies as centerpieces sort of sound like. I go for these frequencies all the time anyway, especially this one. Like, just nothing about that's good. So I don't really need this. I could drop this a little bit, but you're not going to hear it. Well, you would if I cranked it. All right, Maag EQ4, nice stuff. Get a compressor, and oh, I know what I want to try. McDSP retro comp. I like this compressor. I can really put extreme settings into it and it behaves really well. I'll show you what I mean. So the point of a compressor in this case is to put a punch on the front of the sound. Now you don't do that by enhancing it because you don't want it to be louder than it is. It's already pretty darn loud. But I do want to carve off a certain number of decibels from the front over time to give myself a click or punch. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to just, from default, do one simple thing. Drop the threshold all the way down. Now listen very carefully. You can hear a pop. So that pop is the time it takes the amplitude to go down to the threshold, which is super low in this case. So you can hear the pop. Now that pop won't take as long when my threshold is high. So this, again, this is just for demonstration purposes. What's that pop like? And so you can see, or you can hear how the pop changes depending on the attack and the release. Let's make the attack super slow. What would you expect? You'd expect the pop to be more pronounced, right? Hear that? If I drop the attack all the way down, it's going to be inaudible. All right. So I want something somewhere in the middle. That's good. Just gives me a little click on the front of the sound. Now, how often that can be done and whether or not, now with chords that are this slow, the release does not matter. But let's turn it all the way down. I want that super fast release. You can also use the ratio to change what that pop sounds like. So what you're, again, with a compressor, what you're really doing for something that attacks immediately, which is really what you use a compressor for, you're putting a pop, a click at the front of that sound, and the characteristics of that click are determined by attack, release, ratio, threshold. So I did everything. Now I'm going to just... So how pronounced do I want my click to be in terms of amplitude? And I want about 6 dB is good. And unless I'm playing pretty fast, you'll be able to hear the click. So that's McDSP Retro Comp. Probably the most straightforward, good sounding compressor I've ever heard. All right, maybe that was an exaggeration, but we'll see. Drink a coffee and then start working on a delay. So for a delay, I'm going to use this Baby Audio Comeback Kid. Let's see what it sounds like out of the box. About where I want it. So, okay, like every other delay in the world, it does what I just did, which is set up a dotted eighth. This is not a stereo kind of thing unless I throw ping pong. Let's hear that. Okay, totally keeping that. But what I like about this delay is this flavor section is fun. And the shaper, if you need to use it, I don't need it that bad in this particular case, but we'll check the filters out. And then there's some richer, wider stuff going on if you want that. But let's do the flavor. But so we can hear it, I'm going to turn the dry out all the way down. I'm going to turn the wet out all the way up, or not all the way up, but loud enough. And then let's mess with some of this. I'm going to go to extremes so we can hear what's going on. Here's another plugin that doesn't respond to a 2-finger trackpad swipe. There's a special hell. Hey, remember that the dry is all the way down, so this is just the wet. Nice, right? Let's cut this out. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. Nice. I really like this. Yep, I don't want to add to the frequencies below about 150 if I can avoid it. All right, let's turn that off. Turn these all the way down. So let's just throw cheap and see what happens. That's neat. That's neat too. All right, so what I don't want a lot of is swirl. Super cool. I'm gonna see what these do, but I probably won't use them. Yeah. It's not entirely, well, at least I have that. All right, I'm not using those. So when we first designed the sound, we had a lot of tail room to fill up, and the delay does that. Really nice delay from Baby Audio. All right, sorry, just checking on something. Next, we're going to do a send for reverb. Reverb. I could just leave this open for visual funsies. Keyverb. Eventide. This is the one, the 2016. The one that looks like a piece of Radio Shack equipment. Is that intentional? Does work. Should do that more often. All right, I'm going to do one more playthrough and then call it a day. What this is going to turn into yet, but I like the challenge, so awesome. See you next time.